Hi everybody, it's Pat here today, and I am going to be talking today about bead caps. Now, bead caps come in a lot of different sizes and colors, of course, too, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to figure out which one will fit what you're making, but we have a big choice of them, so hopefully we can always find what you're needing. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about the small caps, and these go on either side of a bead, like so. This is an elastic bracelet, and so this is a cap, this gold piece here. They're kind of like half a bead because they're only part, like so. And that's one idea. Then this one, we've just put the caps on a couple of the bigger beads and left the rest of the beads without caps. As you can see, the little silver cap on there. That works really well too. And also on this one, we have some little caps here, and on the other color we didn't use them. So they can be worked into a design quite nicely and makes quite a difference in the look of the finished product. And most of these smaller ones come in packages, generally about 50 in a package or something like that. Here I have a few packages to show. Got some gold ones and some silver ones. These are 30, 50, and 30. So that should be more than enough for most projects if you were going to go with the small caps. Now, some of these other ones I've got here are the caps that go on the end of a necklace or bracelet, and they're bigger. And they come in two different styles. They come the style like this with the hole on the end, and so that means you have to put something through and then make a loop on the top. Or there's also the kind that already has a loop, and so this would require gluing. And so then something like kumihimo, this works very well. You finish your braid and then you have to decide what dimension of cord you have in order to find out what cap will go on the right cord. So there's also some nice decorative caps here too I wanted to show, and I've got a nice little gold one here that goes with this type of flat leather. So you see it will fit in just perfectly into the leather. You can do 2 strands into one of these, and they sit in there just nicely like that. So that's another idea with caps. So caps aren't always round. They can be flat like that and look really nice. And then I have another one here that works really well with these round braided leathers. I've got this one that's kind of a little bit of an antique look to it, and it goes, you can put 2 again into that, and it works very well. So that's some ideas. Now, when you're working with the big, sometimes called cone caps, there's a couple of different ways that you finish off the ends, and I'm going to talk about that today. Actually, I'll work with I've got some 3 colors of chain here that I've hooked onto a clipboard, and so I've hooked them all into a piece of wire. I've made a circle on the end of the wire, kind of like an eye pin, and a straight piece like that. So I'm going to just hook that into the clipboard so that the clipboard just holds it straight, and then I'm going to just gently braid these 3. I'm just going to do a very soft braid, not a tight braid like you might do in hair, but just to blend the colors. And then anyway, I'm going to stop there so that you can kind of see how they work as a nice blend. And then I'm going to just take this apart, and I'll show you how I go ahead and put the end on that, because you probably don't really need to watch me do all the braiding. So I've got a little copper end cap. So I've hooked all 3 of the chains into this little eye pin thing. I actually made the pin myself, but it can be a classic eye pin that you buy as well. So just find a cap that works really well on there, and then after you get your cap on there, we're going to do a nice loop and hook it into a clasp. So, for demonstration purposes, I used a copper cap, and I'm going to use a silver toggle just so that you can see it better maybe on the video here. But I did use all the colors of chain, so you probably could get away with doing a combination of colors as well. But we do have a very large selection of bead caps, so no matter what project you're doing, you probably can find one that's going to work very well. So I'm going to do a wire wrap loop here, which holding with one set of pliers and wrapping the wire with the other one. And then we just trim that off. So that's how you'd go about finishing up something that you're hooking in. You're going to trim that piece off. So I've also strung 3 strands of beads, which I'm going to put into a cap. And I worked it into this cap, works very well to fit the 3 strands. So I'm going to take my little holder off there, and we'll just do 1 strand at a time. So that means I'm going to take back on this, my little holder back onto 2 of the strands so that they don't run away on me. And now this is where I'm going to use crimp beads to, and I've already pre-made a little circle. I did a little wrap like a split ring so that it's nice and sturdy. And I've got crimp beads here, just basic 2mm crimp beads. I'm going to pick up, in this case we probably only need 1 because it's not very heavy, and just put that through that piece, that circle that I made, and drop that back. Okay, so then the crimp bead, your wire goes through twice, of course. And I'm going to feed it back into some of these beads so that the tail isn't right where you cut the end off. Two or 3 beads usually works good. Now if you're needing to repair a necklace, we have a repair kit that comes with one end already hooked up, and the other end you're going to have to do this type of hooking where you run through the clasp and then back into some of the beads. So that's a good thing to keep in mind if you should need to do a repair sometime. So that's how I'm going to hook all 3 of my strung beads into this little wire piece that I've made. See, that's one thing about wire. You can make almost anything out of wire. And if you can't find it in a ready-made, make it out of wire. If you're using something small, eye pins work ideally for this, but generally if you're using as much as 3 strands, an eye pin would be too small. So back through that crimp bead and through a couple of beads there, and tidy it up. And I'm going to crimp that little bead there with my flat pliers. So that's 2 of them. And then the 3rd one will also go on to that same ring. Now this is the way that you make multi-strand necklaces that all go into the same clasp. But multi-strand doesn't always have to go into the same clasp either. Sometimes it's even better if you do your multi-strand in individual strands and then wear them together. And that way you have the option of wearing them separately if you choose to. Okay, so we'll just clip off that excess. And I've got all 3 hooked in there. We'll just drop them down so that they're all... Oh, I didn't cut off the excess on that one. See, they're slipping back on me. I'm going to bring them all up nice and tight there. Or maybe just use my clamp to hold them, since the other end will be done exactly the same, so I don't need to show both ends. Okay, so once we get them all done together, I'm going to drop the cap down over top of them in the same way that I did the cap on the chain. Like so. And that's the magic of bead caps. They just make such a beautiful finish on your piece. It just so professional looking. So I'm going to just go over a little bit about different ones that we have in different colors. Cones are very popular because a cone, it tapers in and you get a nice tidy finish on a grouping of cords or beads. And I've got the same one I was using in an antique gold color. Then this antique copper is very popular too. Now this would be a glue-in because it's already got the loop. There's no hole to come up with your wire. And another nice one that's with a glue-in. And also a little bit smaller cone, which is very popular as well. And then we've got various ones like the gold one I was showing with the double leather pieces. And I have one more to show you, which is a flat leather, and it also works very well in this flat gold one. Just again, that would be glued in because it's got the loop on the top. And the glue we'd use would generally be A6000. It's very strong. You need a strong glue when you're doing metal. Anytime you use metal, you want a strong glue. And E6000 is the best jewelry glue we have. Anyway, I hope I've helped you demystify what bead caps are used for, and maybe we'll see you using more bead caps in your designs in the future. Bye for now.